No one can see me, and no one saw me adjusting my green screen just then with the new Doomscrolling background. But they can hear us now as well. So we have Matt is here. Hello, Matt. We're pre-show, by the way. That's why you can't see us. Matt, are you there? We can hear you.
I am here.
Oh, I'm nervous about today's show, Matt. Yeah, and I'm not one to often get nervous about a stream. And I thought, yeah, no big deal. We're doing Doomscrolling. It's just like remain indoors, isn't it? No drama. But actually, I haven't done a non-F1 speaky at people thing for at least 2 weeks. And then before that, another 2 weeks before that. And then if you discount the gardening show, then I haven't done any those two things for like 3 months. And I was like, oh my goodness, because those things don't really afford me the opportunity to talk about my personal views or my life. And I was like, yeah, I've missed that. So we're going to talk about lifey stuff again and opinions and things. And I'm going to risk opinions.
Oh, that's right, because opinions for you potentially are more costly than they are for me.
We'll get into that. We've got Liam with us as well. Hello, Liam.
Hello. I also have opinions.
Yeah.
But people tend not to listen to
Yeah, because you're a musician. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you care about my opinion about chords and stuff, but other than that.
Yeah. Yeah, all three of them.
Au contraire, if you were Nicki Minaj, people do care about your opinion, it turns out.
We're gonna talk about Nicki Minaj.
That's not about the music, though, is it? That's because people are garbage people.
So you're really quiet to us at the moment, Liam, again. You've gone quieter than you were before. Is it possible to turn up a bit?
I can be more verbose.
No, I think just turn it up in Zoom if you can.
Is that worse?
Yeah,
Okay.
Liam's having to use a substitute mic because we were too finicky about his other one. But I'm sure we can get him up to a good level. That's fine. If not, I can ride the fader. It's just that what happens is Matt will be very loud to start with, and then I'll quickly pull it down. And then Liam will be very quiet to start with, and then I'll pull it up. Where are you at, Liam?
I am at here. Is this acceptable to everyone?
Say again. Say, give me a purple burglar alarm.
Purple burglar alarm.
And Matt?
Purple burglar alarm.
Liam, actually just go halfway to where you were before in that. Sorry about that. You just come in. Oh,
that's all good.
My secret symbol is when you're talking, I tap my headphones and say up or down. Don't do it in that moment. Do it after you've finished speaking. But good. And yes, Liam did write the theme tune. Don't worry about that. He's concrete. I got him in on a really sneaky. I asked for his autograph about 3 years ago, and what he'd actually agreed to do was write every theme tune for every non-F1 show we have. And that was your deal with the devil, with a handsome devil.
I was sort of hoping I'd do the F1 ones as well, but whatever.
Yeah, but all you go is, meow, look at the racing cars, they're so cool. Right, cool.
I got one free engine instrument.
There we go.
I'm getting the most out of it.
All right, look, let's I'm going to record this. Yeah, let's record. Should we record it, Matt? What do you think? Just record this or?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Bruce, shut up, Bruce. Up a bit. Oops, too much. Now down, maybe left. It's a long time since we've had a YouTube chat giving us grief. We've had to ban the YouTube chats for the F1 show.
Oh, I didn't know we were going to be an actual YouTube chat.
Yeah, we've got absolutely. Do you want the link? Have you got the link? It's in the Slack.
Yeah, you're going to give me a minute to catch up now.
Nah, you do it whilst I'm saying things. Right, quiet in the cheap seats. The only problem with your setup, Liam, is we can super duper hear you, like, scratching your nuts or whatever. So maybe just mute in between or whatever. Anyway, let's roll. We've got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. Quiet in the cheap seats as I press button. Whose telephone is that? Or doorbell. You don't have a doorbell. You've got a shed. Shed bell. Who's ringing your shed bell? Okay, let's go. Oh, Matt's got a question. No, you're muted. Has Matt really... Hello?
Yeah, no, we're good. I just didn't want to get the show sound feeding back in through my board is all.
Okay, well, good. Now
I was going to the YouTube link.
Now you've done that.
No,
I can crack on. I said quiet in the cheap seats. Your seat's the cheap. You're in the gods. You can't. I'm a dot to you. That's how cheap your seat is.
I didn't want to interrupt your introduction.
Here we go. I'm definitely going to mess this up. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Doomscrolling. A confessional. Hi everyone and welcome to Doomscrolling. It's the confessional where we share what has kept us glued to our phones in a state of inescapable curiosity and anger. But it's also the chance for me to catch up with my podcast and radio friends and find out what's happening in their world too. I'm your host, Richard Spanners Ready. Today we're going to be talking about the big things. Nicki Minaj's testicle concerns, cabinet reshuffles, that's right, politics. And we'll talk about why bots ruin the world, as well as getting into the micro elements of my panel's mind. Don't worry, I'm not alone. I'm also joined by Matt Trumpets. Hello, Matt.
Hey there, Spanners. And my, what fun it is to be back on this kind of a show with you.
I have always been jealous of you, Matt. Do you know why?
Because of my unbelievable good looks.
If I'd known you many, many years ago, maybe. I am jealous of your height. You're surprisingly tall, which is annoying.
Yes, well, I take full credit for that. Nothing to do with genetics whatsoever.
And your ability to seemingly drink alcohol like water, because I've been sucked into a tunnel of Trumpets whiskeying late into the night, and I go, this bum's not going to fall down. I'm in trouble here.
I've had, as they say, years of practice.
No, the reason I'm jealous of you is because on your Twitter feed, and after all, Doomscrolling is talking about the things that kind of keep us sucked to our phone, the things that we go, I'm going to search for it. I know it's going to make me unhappy, but I'm going to sit there, I'm going to search for it until I find something that A, I agree with, or B, infuriates me and triggers me into action. And your Twitter feed is very forthright. Like, you are more than happy to take an issue that concerns you and go, this sucks, etc.
Yeah, it's one of the glories, I think, of Twitter is that you can express forthrightly your opinion about other people's stupidity as often as you feel like.
So I'm slightly restricted on that because I work for a particular broadcaster, and also I know for a fact that one day I'll be reading the 10 o'clock news. Hello, it's the 10 o'clock news with Spanners, and I can't very well have like outrageous tweets because they'll bring them up, those tweets, Matt. They will bring up the time that I said that Maltesers were rubbish.
Yeah, or that time you said that cats might be better than dogs.
Cats are better than dogs. Dog people are weird. They walk around swinging their little bags of poo, Matt. They just walk around. They look so proud of themselves that they've picked up their poop in a bag.
I know. I mean, people say cats are bad for that, but any animal that makes you pick up its own poop on a regular basis
I might
is worth.
Just have said the thing that stops me getting elected in like the 2030 election. It's like, oh yeah, Richard Reddy, he was on course to be Prime Minister until they said the thing about the swinging the poop around, and that'll get resurfaced. This clip will play over and over again on billboards. But look, the point is, I generally try to be a bit careful because you don't want to be seen as aligning with one party or one ideology or another. But it's very frustrating because I have a lot of opinions, and I have a lot of opinions, and I have no political affiliation, if that makes sense. Like, I have no tribe. I don't have to vote Conservative. I don't need to vote Labour. I don't have some ideological instinct that drives me. I just look at a topic and I think, what would be better? And then inevitably that opinion lands somewhere on a spectrum, a political spectrum, and people go, aha, that means you are a Green Party supporter.
Yeah, no, being put into a box because you have opinions is one of the most egregiously annoying things that can happen, because you say one thing, someone says, because you said this one thing, every other thought that you have must agree with exactly this preset guide.
Speaking of things that always agree with my preset guide, it's Liam Taylor. Hello, Liam. How's it going?
I would vote for you exclusively for being on the side of cats.
Oh, brilliant. Hey,
You've got my vote.
Liam is a music man. He lives in a shed. Please forgive him today. He has very good audio, but I bullied him into going onto a USB mic, so he sounds like he's very far away. But don't worry, Liam, I'll crank you up.
I just sound like I'm in a cavern, do I? That's fine. That's part of my aesthetic, is being far away but very loud.
It could be that I'm so intimidated by your shed, because it is 3 times the size of my shed, that I'm emasculating you by clipping your audio and making you use a rubbish mic today.
You've cut me down.
Exactly. That's what I've gone
for. Taking my mic away from me.
But we've talked about music loads. I've never actually had like a political opinion from you. As far as I know, you could be like super racist. I've never explored it.
Do you want to work out which races I don't like? I don't know. What game is this? What kind
Yeah.
of trap are you setting?
I'm going to go for Mac users. Is the race you hate?
Yeah, I'm a PC person, I'm afraid. Yeah, I tend to keep the whole social media side of me as apolitical as possible. And I think anyone that wants to be in the public eye even a little bit, that's sort of the right thing to do. But I think there's certain opinions that get, I guess, flagged as political opinions that I have, which I don't think are political. Like, maybe we should be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Maybe hospitals should have all the money and resources they need. Maybe everyone should be treated equally. You know, maybe people who work for the people of a country shouldn't be richer than the people of a country. I don't think those are political statements. I think that's just what any sane person would want. But I guess it makes me a communist, doesn't it?
Now then, you're a little bit younger than I am, Liam. You are like 29?
I'm 32.
Oh, he's 32. My goodness, you're holding up well. 32. Matt's even older. So I'm 41, and in my political career in the UK, I don't care about a political party one way or the other. My dad did once run. He ran for an MP. He came second. He ran for the Conservative Party. He was very much of that ilk and of that time. And for me, though, my political views, if I state my opinion and then see where it lands on the current political map, has at one point or the other covered all three major political parties in the UK. There have been times where I've gone, well, currently it's the Tory party that would implement the things I want to happen. That has happened as well with the Lib Dems. It has happened with Labour as well. And I think that's probably the logical way to go. But at any given time, you could accuse me of being, I don't know, biased to one side or the other, which upsets me because I try to approach everything in a critical way. So I'm gonna kick off where I mean to go on. I'm gonna say the B word. I'm gonna mention Brexit, Liam. Do you think I'm we're on dodgy ground? But if you think back to 2015, 2016, when they started talking about having a referendum in the UK, should we leave the UK, the EU, or should we stay in the EU? I didn't have a particular opinion because at the time, no one was talking about it and no one cared. Now it's like everything. It's all that everyone is arguing about. If you did an opinion poll in 2014, how much do you care about the UK's membership in the EU? Liam's nodding and shaking his head. Everyone was like, I don't care at all. And so we were all forced to pick a side. And do you know who I voted for, Liam? I'm going to guess who I voted for.
I feel like you will Remain, but maybe that's because I want you to be Remain.
You're wishing me to be on your side, so you're giving away your bias. Do you know what I voted for, Matt? I voted for money. I voted for money. The only thing I cared about was like, oh man, this country could do stuff if we had money. So I looked at both sides, literally didn't care, not scared by a European superstate, not frightened by Britain kind of being alone as its own country either. So I looked at the maths and I went, it seems like, and this is purely from my experience of playing Rome Total War 1 and 2, that you want to make as many trade relations as you can. And then, because once you've got trade in those games, you can like do technology, you can build trebuchets, all the roads. You build
love me a trebuchet.
Yeah, love me, or a catapult. You can't get those two mixed up. People get very upset.
Yes,
but that's yeah. But I'm like, money can buy goods and services. Which thing gets us money? Trade. That's the most important thing. So therefore, I support staying in a tight relationship with the European Union. I didn't buy into your kids will be subscribed into the European Army, and I voted that way. But who would know, Matt, and you probably had a similar thing with Trump as well, who would know that like years later, you would still be defined by where your opinions led you to support something, 5 years ago, because it wasn't tribal then, but now it is everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a logarithmic rate of acceleration of the politicization of these issues, where you can't just say, at the time, I made this choice, but this choice doesn't define me. It's almost like by making that one choice, you've become walled off into an information bubble that reinforces all those other choices people would associate with you.
And I promise you this, had Vote Leave come up with a thing that was like, guys, if we leave the European Union, we'll definitely have more money, I would have voted for that. Like, if there was a leave option where we definitely had more money and like the UK would suddenly become twice as rich, I would have voted for that. I don't know if that makes me worse, Liam, but that's all I wanted. I was like, what gives us most money for things?
That's fair. You're absolutely right. Money buys goods and services. We're in a situation where schools can't afford paper. The NHS can't afford to do the many things the NHS does. So yeah, we kind of need more money.
Yeah.
And regrettably, we still somehow now we need more money.
So I'm still hoping that I'm wrong, because we're what, 8 months into Brexit, and it looks like industry suffering, imports are suffering, farming suffering, food supply chains are suffering. It looks like at the moment this isn't the best money option, which is why I'm like, is there any way we can turn it into the best money option? I'm still there. See, this is the difference between problem solving and ideology. If you can still give me a version of Brexit where we have money and stuff, then I'm very shallow. I'm like, oh yeah, money and stuff. All right, cool. But anyway, that is what I want us to set us up with for this show. The premise that I want to give you my opinion, but I promise you my opinion is not ideologically driven, if that makes sense, Matt. There are some people in the UK who will always vote Labour. You vote Labour, that's what you do. Red wall. And there's some people who would never vote for Labour because they're, I don't know, communist according to them or whatever. Is it similar in the US? Do you have people who will always vote blue, always vote red?
Yeah, it's frustrating in a way. The vast majority of people will vote for one or the other. And even the people who call themselves independents will generally vote for the same party. It's just like they don't officially belong to that party. But also, to be fair, we only have two parties to choose from here. And they are very, very, very different. So like the Democrats would be like, imagine if you took the Greens and the Lib Dems and Labor. And if you're any of those, we would just call that party one party. Like the Sensible Shoes Party. And then imagine if you took the Tories and UKIP and whatever is even further right than that. And then if you were any of those people, you were the Heavy Boots Party.
I see.
So they're very split. There's not a lot of middle grounds that gets agreed on.
So if a new party comes in, they kind of get shoveled into one side or the other. And by the way, we are going to break into some personal news very, very soon. I just want to answer this one point from a Condenser in the chat room, because I think it's a really, really, really good question. They say, so how much does the effect on the rest of the EU factor in your opinions? It's a fantastic question as well, because it's very easy to go, well, what's best for Britain? But I spent a lot of my childhood in Denmark. I have family in Denmark, in Germany, and recently as well. There's some recent news, which we probably don't have the expertise to delve into, except that I spent many years in the defence industry, which is that the US and the UK and Australia have entered into a defence pact where they will share technologies and work to build like nuclear submarines with Australia. And that not upsets me, but I'm concerned because it has affected France, and people need to realise how big an ally and a strategic partner and a technical partner France is and has been to us, and how open France has been in sharing technology, and how closely the defence industries of Britain, France, Germany and Italy have been working together in recent decades. So for your question, yes, I am upset if the EU loses out as well. And it does seem to me monetarily, technologically, politically, if we all worked together more in whatever capacity, we would have better strength and stuff. And look, this is only from 20 years of working in the defence as a soldier and an engineer, where I was in international teams in defence with Italians, with French. I've been on United Nations tours where I've been side to side in riot shields with like me with my riot shield, and then next to me, same beret, same uniform, gigantic Ukrainian soldier they're like Liam sized. Do you know, this little me, you look along the wall, gigantic Ukrainian, Argentinian, tiny British me, Ukrainian. So, I want Star Trek. All of us aboard a ship fighting some other foreign planet. Anyway, we've got big news, Matt. I can play the big dirty news bumper here, can't I? Yeah, sure I can. Big dirty news. Personal news. Massive news in our world, Matt. I'll focus in on you because Liam has yet to suffer the joys of children. I'm sure they're on their way. But massive news in our world. My little VV, 9 years old, has just gone to middle school. So missed the first week of middle school because we all had COVID. Has been there for 3 days and has, for the first time, had to fob off a little boy and say, I see you as just a friend, after, and this is after 3 days, a boy in her class confessed his love for her.
That she's told you about.
With the first that she's told me about. No, it's been a whole thing. I totally trust her that this is like the first time this has happened. And middle school, I think it's similar to the US. So this is year 5. And so she's 9, so it's 9-year-olds all the way up to 13-year-olds. So my little 9-year-old is going into a school with people who can grow mustaches, people who are like fully like flourishing into human beings. And she went to middle school age 9, and then she came home that same day about 15 and was just like, oh, Papa, you don't understand the world. You don't understand the world I've seen, Papa. Everything is so different and wild and fresh.
Yeah, I remember this was, we call them middle school here, and we send them off in what we would call 8th grade. So 12, 13 would be the age they go to that. The 6th grade. 8th grade is where it ends.
And you've been through all this pain, obviously.
Yeah, and it is, like, literally you put them on the bus the first day. Like, here they have to take public transportation. So they get a Metro card, and they go off with their friend. And then they come back home and they're like, yeah, I can do anything. Yeah, I'm going to Manhattan now. Yeah. I'll be back tomorrow. I've rented a hotel room and I've got an Uber account now.
Yeah, this is it. And in the chat, who we've got here? Who said that? Oh, I've lost the person. I've lost my skill at reading the chat room, Matt. But it's Rob who said, "Go Vivi, don't settle. You can do better." And I did ask her. I said, how did the conversation go? And basically, this little lad. He shot his shot. Do you know what I mean? He's gone for it. Like, fair play. We all remember. You remember, Liam, don't you? That the nerves of asking a girl out or telling her you like her.
I was such a nervous child that I basically didn't go to school. So no, I can't relate.
You can't relate to that. So your tactic of wooing a young lady would be to simply hope that she eventually asked you out?
Just being incredibly patient, and eventually girls would, if they liked me enough, they would be so persistent and so very clear with their intentions towards me that eventually they would just punch me in the face and then ask me out and go, oh, you like me? Why do you like me?
Do you know what?
And that's how I would start dating.
I don't think that is a terrible approach. I've spoken to both my children about like nightclubs and the nightclub experience and being on the pull. And I never had a chat up line. Like you all had the friend who would go up with a clever line to say to make the meaning come true and to say something smart to try and knock a girl off her feet. But I always felt like that, I would never approach anybody if they were just minding their own business at a bar. And it was such a low probability success rate as well that I would see these guys time after time essentially harassing woman after woman, time after time after time. And I was going, why are you bothering? Women aren't like, they're not hiding that they like you. They're not hiding it in a Pandora's box. If they like you, they will be near you. They will find an excuse to be near you. They will look at you. They will make it reasonably clear. And then you can say, oh, hello. And then hello becomes the greatest chat up line. So I compare it to, are you a cold caller knocking door to door, or do you have a shop? And then when somebody enters the shop, you say, oh, hello, are you just browsing? Or would you be interested in finding out more? Now, that was my approach always.
I'm definitely a shopkeeper.
Are you a shopkeeper?
Definitely tidying, mopping. I'm just nice and clean. I've got my apron on. And if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. If you want to awkwardly avoid eye contact whilst you pay for gum, we can do that. It's all good.
Maybe we're just not smooth enough. Matt, I think you were probably a shopkeeper as well. You're like, yeah, look, I'm blowing my own trumpet.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time characterizing that because, yeah, for the most part, I don't know. I don't know. For the most part, I think about it. Like I think about all I can remember is like how I met my wife, and that was she was introduced to me by a friend who thought we'd be good together, and we went out as a group and wound up alone talking. So I don't know. You tell me, but I do have the occasional story of I once met someone on a sidewalk walking home, and we wound up getting drinks together. Another time, I met someone on the subway, and we wound up getting drinks together. So I have like these odd flashes of just sheer genius and inspiration. But on the whole, yeah, you like to know you've got a modestly more than a 50% chance before you go there.
I just never wanted to bother anyone, and I actually had a job as a door-to-door salesman briefly. In fact, I've talked on this feed before about my time as a telesales double glazing person. So I had to cold call people, phone them up. But I actually had a kitchen refit job as well, where I would knock door to door and say, oh, I can see your kitchen through there. It's looking a bit rubbish. That would you like a new kitchen? And so I can get some commission. I did not sell a single kitchen. I got so fed up. I quit on the spot. But yeah, I never wanted to bother people. I just felt like everyone's out having their own thing, and like if they were interested, it would be obvious.
But is that not the entirety of like British social relations, though?
Maybe, but I think if you speak to any British woman who's ever been to a bar or nightclub, they will tell you that they are just being, constantly pestered. And this is what I said to my daughter. I said, "This is the first of many," and we had a long conversation about how you dealt with it, because she talked about her guilt. She's like, "Well, I feel bad. I feel bad because he was really nice about it. He did a big build-up. He tried to make her jealous first by saying that he liked another girl in the class, and she didn't quite catch on to what he was doing. It was only afterwards that she realised, and then he started being all like, oh, I really like girls who've got brown hair. I really like blue-eyed girls." And then eventually she figured it out. She just went, "Are you trying to say something? Just say it." And he went, "I love you." He went, "I love you." I was like, fair enough, he's 9. But I think he went too early. He went too strong. They are now stuck together in their classes for the next year at least. They sit next to each other in 80% of her classes.
Awkward.
Yeah, it's awkward. Yeah. But she's going to have to get used to that as a young lady. She's going to have to learn the skill of letting people down gently. And I'm quite impressed that straight away her instinct was, "You're a friend. I like you as a friend."
Yes. Well, wait till she comes home and tells you about being catcalled, which I have had that conversation with my daughter.
Oh,
she does not tell them things nicely when they do that.
Oh, she doesn't. She just goes like, "Oh, bog off, you turnip."
Yeah, well, I think she insinuates things about her age and their predilections, more or less.
Fair enough. Anyway, Vivi has, I think, handled it well. She is now preparing herself for a lifetime of telling weird, desperate men that she only wants to be friends. And that is what is going on in my world. The big dirty news in Liam's world. Big dirty news is that you cannot be trusted. It turns out you would make an absolutely awful defense minister or spy. You just lost all your latest content.
Yeah, that was, well, I'd be a perfect MP. They're always leaving documents on trains, aren't they? It's part of the
yeah, exactly.
That's the training.
Part
how to leak information.
Part of the MI5 test is which seat is best to leave your laptop on.
I want to make you feel better about this, Liam. A long time ago, when I worked in a bike shop, we used to have some famous customers, including one of the Kennedys, who was at the time an assistant prosecutor. And he one time left an entire manila envelope marked secret confidential in our bike shop. So I'm with you. I think you're actually showing exactly the kind of acumen politicians need when dealing with secret information.
Liam, what did you do? Firstly, let's talk about your podcast, which is the Conversation Hat. Are you still doing that, or did I ruin it by being too good?
You were so good that there were demands for us to continue, but when people realised that every episode wouldn't be a Spanners episode, the listenership just
they were
straight
gutted
down the toilet. Yeah, no, we're still going strong. COVID did sort of slow us down a little bit, but we're doing a lot of episodes which are just me and my co-host Ben. We're getting to know each other real well. But we've got a few guests lined up. It's basically a comedy podcast. We say it's for geeks, artists, and terrible people. So if you think you're any one of them, give it a listen. It's a lot of fun. The Spanners episode is pretty good.
It's
the
pretty
whole
good.
deal is we pull questions out of a hat, and we do our best to reach a consensus. They're philosophical questions, occasionally political questions. Sometimes what movie did you like, and sometimes it'll just say fart.
So I really regret coming on your podcast because.
Thanks.
You asked us to give opinions about giraffes, and you lulled me into your shed. It was in real life. I came to your shed in real life. I knocked on your door, and you asked me about giraffes, and I ended up confessing that I really like it when tall people bang their heads on doorways. I'm like, that's what you get. That's what you get for being tall. And then you clipped that out and just posted it to anyone who would listen. You're like, oh. Local DJ Richard Reddy hates tall people and wishes them pain.
I was kind of hoping to get you cancelled off of
yeah,
aforementioned public broadcast. No, I'd completely forgotten about that. What's the question? Are giraffes too tall or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, really plumbing the depths of the human experience with that particular question.
But the thing of it, is improv, isn't it? It's improv comedy, improv.
Yeah.
It's the core of all like entertainment is being able to just riff off whatever gets thrown at you, and you look at people like Conan O'Brien and Jimmy Kimmel and stuff in America. In America, it's very common. It's ingrained in their society, their entertainment, whereas in like British comedy, you have to be, let's go on Radio 4 and let's do puns that sound a bit like penis.
I think it's made out to be that British comedy is in general more scripted and American comedy is more improvised. But I think we'd be surprised how much of the supposed improv is actually scripted in America. I don't know. I could be wrong. I know that a lot of British comedy that looks improvised, like Buzzcocks, Have I Got News for You? It's just there's a writer's room that come up with all the jokes. So, yeah.
Yes, I'll give you that. However, the spirit of it is that you don't shut down ideas. So there's a flow of stuff. So as you come at me with something and you go, Spanners, you only wear shoes once, throw them away. But as you throw them away, you slap a homeless person in the face with them. And instead of me being offended by that, I say, you know, that homeless person had it coming. What you don't know is they murdered your father. No, not the father you think you had. And that's the difference between like shutting it down and going with the flow.
It's all about the yes and, isn't it? Or the no but. You've got to take the thing that was said to you and then find a way to add to it. Like I could say, little do you know that homeless people actually live off of shoelaces.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a dark path, but tell me why. Tell me why you lost a thing. And does it matter that you lost a bunch of your content? Is it because you didn't have a backup, or is it because you're scared it will be stolen and featured on the next Larry Sanders show?
Yeah, that Larry Sanders is always after my content. We had a hard disk failure. The conversation hat drive, we're on our second iteration of the drive at the moment. So we haven't lost completely everything, but we lost a lot of project archives. So like the last 30 episodes of the podcast, the archives are just gone. So if you're ever hoping for like extended cuts or
I wasn't.
Of course you went.
No.
Or like the cutting room floor type situations. No, it's just all gone. And we lost the week previous. We had scripted, produced, and filmed an entire day's worth of sketches on location with extras, paid for food. You know, like an actual shoot. And then just lost all the footage.
Like people trying to produce a thing and make money.
Yeah, like people who make stuff,
who need food,
who want to eat themselves.
Yeah.
And like I know that you're supposed to back stuff up, but the thing about that is, I have to spend twice as much money on hard drives, and I don't have any money because all of my content just went missing. So how does that work? Chicken and egg, you know.
So that leads us to storing stuff on hard drives. Again, you don't have children, Liam, so your memories are largely irrelevant. But I have a weird responsibility in my mind to my children's memories and what we store on hard drives, what we take off our phone. If you look at my childhood, from the ages of 1 to 7, there are 5 photographs. Like I grew up, you're laughing. Don't mock me for that. I grew up like my whole, Matt, what?
Did they just think you were not going to survive? I mean, really, what is that?
Like they were so uninvested in my future. It's unreal. And the thing is, we think we remember our childhoods. We don't. We remember the photographs that people took and the things that people told us. So to my memory, my childhood was exclusively a black, like, foot pedal trike, holding 3 balloons with a fairground cake and 1 ice cream van. So that is like all my memories from preschool is that. And if you ask me about it, those memories are real because I remember remembering from the photos and people showing me the photos and saying, look, remember the tricycle? And so when I talk to my wife and she's got all these memories and camcorder stuff about her childhood, and I'm like, nah, preschool's pretty much all about black tricycles. So I'm paranoid then about losing their memories. I've overcompensated. I have hundreds of gigs worth of photos and videos and everything. I try to sort them out as best as I can. But as far as backups go, I have them all on my main computer here. Periodically, I put them on a hard drive. I give every now and then a hard drive to my mother-in-law. I take it back. I refresh it with the new things. I send it back to her. And I have it uploaded to the cloud on a storage service because I am just so paranoid about losing all their memories. So that's what's going on in our world. It's time to go on to Doomscrolling, which I don't have a Doomscrolling bumper. Let's just play the Doomscrolling. What has kept us addicted to the internet? Let's go to Liam first. Liam, you think that bots are going to destroy the world. Why?
Bots are doing my nut in. Spanners. Do not like bots. As a creative person, I'm sick to death of bots for 2 big reasons. Reason number 1, every other message I get on Instagram or Twitter is, hey, do you want to buy some followers?
I would like to buy some followers.
Not for the amount they're charging.
Does it work?
No, it doesn't work.
Oh.
Well, you get the followers, but what you get is today's keyword, bots, which is no use to anyone.
Oh, so hang on. So if these people sell me some followers, what I'm getting is the kudos, the prestige of having those followers. So I currently have Flex 5,200 Twitter followers. Can I make that 10,000? Can I buy enough bots to get 10,000? How much? How much?
Of course you can. I don't know off the top of my head. Different companies will give you different quotes because they'll say that they've got better value bots or that bots will be located in your area. But that's just a case of putting in a different IP address. The problem is, if you look like you have a lot of followers, let's say you want to get your screenplay published, Spanners, the brand new, the thing you've been working on, because everyone has a screenplay.
God, I've been doing nothing else for months.
Right. So you've got your screenplay, you want to get it published, and let's say there's a production company that wants to look into your background, just see a bit about who you are, and they say, oh, this dude's got 10,000 Twitter followers. He must be, how have we not heard of this guy? His screenplay must be awesome. Let's actually look at it rather than say we did. And then they scroll through your timeline and like your tweets have 1 or 2 likes. Oh, who's retweeted this? Oh, it's also Spanners from a different account. Right. They're going to say this vain little man has purchased followers. Let's not bother giving him the time of day because he hasn't put the work in to have any kind of following. So that's the reason I keep punching this thing. That's the reason you don't want to buy followers, because it doesn't help you in any way. And this is also kind of skirting around political issues again. This is a really big deal in British political
okay, look, I'm not skirting around political issues. I'm
done.
Done skirting around political issues. Tell me how bots have affected political issues.
Find the Twitter account of Bojo, any of the top Tory lot, anyone in government, go through their followers. Every fifth or sixth follower that they have has no display picture. You can click on them, no followers, no tweets, which means that the government are artificially inflating their apparent following online.
Well, hang on, it might not be them. We should be fair. It could be some other actor that wants them to appear as if they've got an inflated number of followers.
Yeah, quite possibly. There's no way to know necessarily who it's come from because bots aren't really that traceable. So yeah, there's no real way to know. And the reason that's bad is because bots can get hashtags trending. Bots can act as false flag actors, I guess is the right term.
Sure.
You're ex Black Ops, you know the words.
Oh yeah, that's all we did in my core of the REME, the mechanical engineers, was
just
do
scrolling
false,
through Twitter.
Yeah, false flag.
Butts.
Yeah, that's all we did.
So all these things, terms like snowflake, all the social justice warrior jargon, that all comes from bots who have basically tried to work out, how can we make all these lefties look really flimsy and really bad, and they'll just pretend to be outraged over dumb things that people aren't actually outraged about. Like, this is why cancel culture is such a big thing, because whoever's in charge of the bots wants it to make it look like these lefties are all really sad about episodes of Faulty Towers, when actually no, we just kind of want to house the poor.
Yes. So of course, if you want to make something seem bad and outrageous, you go to the extreme end of that. So but who is making these bots happen? So who is Matt? Is it you, Matt? Who is making me hate Faulty Towers for like one extra's line in one episode?
Well, according to Cadenza in our chat room, it's ordered by someone named Joris Bonson.
No,
never heard of him, but you know.
So, okay, I get there might be actors who might want to use these for nefarious purposes. So it's very hard to mitigate for people doing things on purpose and for people being bad people. But is there something inherent about the bots? Or is it always... Because if you say bots, you think of some AI taking it upon themselves to like guard the human race by convincing them to stay indoors and then building robots to make them stay indoors. Is it that, or is it just a tool that the best people at using the tool can use to make their agenda come to the front?
Yeah, they're up for grabs for whoever wants to pay the most money to use them. There's no AI, not humanity, the opposite of humanity. They're not benevolent. It's just capitalism. It's just internet capitalism.
At the risk of turning this into a vaguely serious discussion, one of the things that I actually like best about bots is on Twitter, I follow this account, I think it's BoschBot, who retweets just tiny little segments of Hieronymus Bosch paintings, which are fantastically weird and bizarre. So it's used in the context you're discussing. Yes, it is highly problematic, but I've also seen that one of the biggest problems is simply there's no transparency as to the fact that it is a bot and who or what is responsible for the bot. And I feel like perhaps if they address that, it might solve some of what you're talking about.
Do we think that there are... See, Matt is my bot. Matt will tag me in a thing.
Yes.
And be like, look at this outrageous thing. Like, Britain's going to move to imperial units. And I go, ah, rabble, rabble, rabble. And then I go down a rabbit hole, like I did when I should have been preparing for this show out of the shower. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't even know what imperial units are.
Yes, well, and let's be fair. I only retweet things to you that I know you can't publicly comment on without imperiling your job.
Exactly.
Like, I'm very careful with my curation.
Exactly. So, Liam, are these bots like designed to make me feel angry, to trigger me?
It comes back to capitalism. Yes, there's bots. It's tricky. I'm not sure if it's the bots, or I'm not sure if it's just the way that Twitter and social media and let's say the media in general is built. They want to keep you reading whatever it is you're reading. So Twitter wants you to keep scrolling through Twitter, YouTube wants you to keep watching YouTube, the Murdoch press wants you to keep buying the Murdoch press. And one of the best ways to do that is to scare you into thinking that everything's coming to get you, and the only possible hope you have is to read this thing that tells you exactly who you should hate, and if you hate them hard enough, maybe they'll stop being mean to you.
Yeah,
it's capitalism. It's fear capitalism.
Don't look at my massive pile of cookies. That immigrant wants your one cookie. Okay, let's move on to more things that you're doom scrolling. Let's move to Matt Trumpets. There is somebody called Nicki Minaj who wants us all to reject or not. What is Nicki Minaj telling us to do? It's to do with testicles. I know that much.
Oh, this is such a classic. It's like my friend's cousin in Trinidad took the vaccine and lordy, his testicles did swell up like giant watermelons. And because of that, his whole wedding got called off. Now,
no, and hang on, I caught up with it since you told me about it, but I think the implication is more than that. I think the implication is his testicles swelled up, therefore he was less viable as a human mate, and then the bride called it off because she no longer wanted him, was the implication I got. So it seemed to be the implication was don't get vaccinated or your fiance will no longer want you.
Yeah, that was the implication. But the consequence, of course, is also what I'm completely here for. And the consequence is that this poor cousin, who may or may have not gotten away with whatever he thought he was getting away with, has now thoroughly been investigated, not only by tens of millions of Twitter users, but I believe at this point, the official public health department of Trinidad has looked for this case. It's been on the news.
So they've gone all in, and I think it was the health minister of Trinidad. He went all in and has been doing interviews going, we have looked for this person, we've tried to verify it, we can't verify it. And he seemed angry. He seemed angry, but this is a general trend of misinformation, alleged misinformation. Oh my goodness, Nicki Minaj went so hard. I have to say alleged. She went so hard at like our prime minister. Didn't she like retweet something from from Chris Whitty, and she retweeted it and like attacked our health spokesman and our prime minister. So maybe she attacks doom scrolling next. I don't know. So we've got to be careful. But I would opine that is possibly like potentially misinformation. But it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem.
Well, it's sort of like in court, it's like hearsay, like I heard this. It's not technically misinformation. She's not saying if you get the vaccine, this is a documented consequence. She's just saying, oh, I heard this. And it puts it in this, at least in America, this weird space where it's not straight up someone telling you misinformation, but it pretty much amounts to the same thing.
So this is something I tweeted earlier. I didn't get too much pushback on it because I think I've got a fairly reasonable following on Twitter. But why isn't it a crime to post medical misinformation? Like, Liam, I know there's free speech and stuff, but at some point, just saying, the vaccine, which in my opinion is our way out of, let's have increasingly better vaccines so that we don't have to worry about coronavirus. I've just had coronavirus, double jabbed. I hear that being double jabbed saves you from the worst of the symptoms. Was that not the worst of the symptoms? So please get double jabbed. So somebody, for any spurious reasoning, telling people not to be double jabbed and therefore put themselves in more danger, I'm not sure why that isn't legislated against more.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's and it's easy to make the free speech argument, but people forget free speech isn't freedom from consequence. If you can say the most abhorrent thing you want to, but then you should be prepared for people to push back against that. And
well, hang on. Let's just
go on.
Let's drill down into that. So if you've got freedom of speech, but if you've got freedom of speech, somebody can obviously tell you that you're a turnip for saying that. But obviously, but then if your freedom of speech has consequences which limits someone else's freedom of speech, that's when you run into trouble. So I get upset when people say call for let's pick a controversial subject, shall we? No. To me, this is not controversial. If somebody says a homosexual relationship is not as valid as a heterosexual relationship, and they campaign for laws to be enacted to give those people less rights, okay, we've lost several listeners now. To me, that's no longer freedom of speech, because you're impinging on the freedom of a couple in love to live their lives normally. And that's, to me, that's where your freedom of speech starts to butt up against the law. So when you say, freedom of speech, there are limitations to that.
It's freedom of speech, but you've got to be empathic, and we've got to teach empathy in schools. I think that's the only way to do it. Like, how would you feel if someone said that about something you liked? That sort of thing. Once we all start getting a little more empathic, we'll realize, oh, I can say this thing out loud, but how would I feel if someone truly felt that about something I like? And so maybe I won't say that, or maybe I'll reevaluate, or maybe I'll just not say anything. It's just empathy. We just need more empathy.
Yeah, except for all the people I disagree with. They can just go.
All right. Well, that's
right
not
into
very...
the ocean. Which is not the point I was going to make.
You can't tell them to get in the sea.
Yes. Is that there's a difference between speech and publishing.
Sure.
So you have the right to voice your cause to whoever you want to, but you don't have the right for that to be published and widely disseminated by private corporations such as Twitter. For example. And I think what you're talking about is starting to get into what we would talk about are hate crimes or hate speech in particular. And it's a thorny issue from an American legal perspective, because we do have the First Amendment and we have that right enshrined.
We don't. Wait, let's pause there. We don't have the same constitutional thing that you have with your First Amendment. For the British listeners, summarize for me the First Amendment, and because people hear that on telly and in the news and think and assume that the UK has the same thing.
Yeah, well, as part of the Constitution, you essentially have the right of free speech, assembly, and a couple of other modestly important things. And that came out of our experience pre-Revolutionary War, but also, I think, a concern, at the time of various states about how they would be treated if there were a federal government, which already was beginning to remind them too much of having a king.
Right. So you guys, and I'm summarizing you all together, you guys kind of had a protection against us, the Brits. We don't have sorry, Liam, you don't have an inherent freedom of speech. How does that make you feel?
That's probably for the best.
Yeah. In your particular case, it would all be giraffe-based content, as far as I can tell. But I do have a little bit of sympathy for Nicki Minaj. Is that bad? Am I going to get cancelled for this? What do we think? I have sympathy for her because I looked at her whole Twitter feed, and her whole Twitter feed is referencing stuff she's heard on the internet. Stuff that I believe to be not true, stuff I believe to be fear-mongering, stuff I believe to be ideologically driven, but she has a completely different set of inputs to me. So in her sphere, in her echo chamber, in her bubble, she's been told there's lots of dangers around COVID and COVID vaccines, and so she spreads that information as any of us might on our Facebook pages, except she's got 20 billion followers. So for me, it's like, what point does Twitter step in and go, whoa, hang on a minute? I looked at her tweet earlier. Sometimes on a tweet like that, they might put, oh, this contains medical misinformation. That tweet was missing. That Twitter intervention was missing on Nicki Minaj's tweet. So at what point do you intervene and say, does the platform intervene and say, well, okay, you can't publish this on our platform?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that YouTube tried to have a speedy intervention with anything that mentioned COVID, and it was a little overpowered last year. So when we first went into lockdown, I did these weekly lockdown guitar challenges. I would literally post a minute video, da la la la, here's a thing, here's the tab to play it, off you go, once a week. Because it had the word lockdown in the title, they would get blocked. And because the system was brand new, YouTube didn't have a way to tell me that my videos had been blocked, which was just the best, YouTube.
Hang on, are you telling me that you've been cancelled, Liam? I didn't know.
Oh, I've been cancelled like a million times. It's the only reason I have subscribers is because I got cancelled ages ago. It works backwards. It's weird. I think because of COVID, I think there is going to have to be some kind of system for misinformation. I think there has to be, because it's at a point now where it is risking lives. And I think it's fair enough if a platform like Twitter needs to have an actual human examine a tweet and say, no, this is totally bogus. This should not be something that is said out loud. But by the time that individual gets to work that morning, opens up their laptop and goes through Nicki Minaj's feed, several billion people have already read and started to believe that tweet. So
you could put like a limit. All tweets over X amount have a human to just decipher. But the thing is, when I posted that medical misinformation should at some point become an offence, and someone said, well, who decides? Who decides what is right or wrong? And I felt a bit churlish, but can we start at a scientific consensus, Liam? Is that too simplistic, Liam?
I was going to draw a parallel with, thing is, in the UK, we already have limitations on things that can and cannot be said in public forums. For example, you can't say a bad word against the royal family, which is why certain recent cases in the news, I'm not going to get us all cancelled right now, don't worry about it. The Spanish is clearly in distress. But certain things just will never become public knowledge just because we can't say a word against the royal family. So if there is that power, why should there not also be a power to help people die less?
You are correct. The problem is defining adequately the scientific consensus at any one moment. Now, if we are going to talk about vaccinations at this point in time, they've been authorized for emergency use. Billions of doses have been given out. Side effects are minimal. Protections are very clearly demonstrated. So if you want to come out now, and as I follow some folks over in England who are have some interesting opinions about things and talk about, well, what do these kids need vaccines for? Well, then I feel like, yes, you should in fact be hit over the head with a lead pipe, and that should be taken off.
Lead pipe?
Okay, good. Fine.
A narrator voice. Doomscrolling lasted one episode.
I mean, in a well, whatever, metaphorical sense is what I meant.
Gentlemen, we are running dangerously close to our strict 40-minute time limit for Doomscrolling. There's loads of topics we did not get to that we wanted to, but I'm very happy with this format. I would like to start each show talking about. I love talking about the drama in middle school. I love the fact that I've had a child in middle school for 2 years, and I know nothing about that middle school because I've asked for 2 years, how was your day, boy? Good. Fine. Meh. And then he's gone off into like VR world or Xbox world. But now that my little daughter's there, I've learned more about that school in 3 days than I did in 2 years of the boy being there. I'm getting every detail. And I love sharing those little portions of life. I call them, well, we call them in our house, Matt, we call them lifey life, little bites of life. And I want to hear them. I want to hear them about you. I want to hear them about our guests as well, before we get into all the doom scrolling and the Twitter fights.
I like that because I have a daughter who's headed off to college. And that is a whole journey, let me tell you.
Scary. All right, we're going to knock this on the head for the minute, not with a lead pipe. Just metaphorically, but do go and follow Liam. Oh, Liam, we're gonna promote and plug a thing on Missed Apex podcast because I feel like that's a fair trade for you giving us music like this. And the thing that we're promoting, is it a site with like music like this or like real music?
I know exactly what you're insinuating there, Spanners, and I do not appreciate it one bit.
It's good.
I use Ko-fi as a crowdfunding platform. I'm a Ko-fi ambassador. So if you don't know what Ko-fi is, I'm the kind of person you need to ask.
Oh, what's Ko-fi?
It's a bit like Patreon, but better in several ways, and also based in Cambridge. So that's nice. Ko-fi is crowdfunding, so you can send me a donation. Subtle suggestion there, but I also have most of my back catalogue on there. Some of it's pay what you like, so you can have music for free if you want. It is real music. It's not just the dumb jingles that I write for Spanners in 2 hours.
Okay.
Because he forgot that the show didn't have a jingle, and I was just like, yep.
Okay, you didn't have to tell everyone that, Matt. You say things now to distract from my bad admin.
I was just going to point out that coffee is just the beverage that I have in the morning before I'm entirely awake.
Coffee. Yeah, so I'm sure that, Liam, give me some words and we'll promote that on our Formula One podcast, because I think roughly 1,000 more people will listen to that than this.
Yeah, I'll have 1,000 more people.
No, 1,000 times. It's
1,000
so
times.
Yeah. 2 orders of magnitude at least.
I'm a musician. I can count to 4 several times, but that's it. Yes, Ko-fi. LT Guitarist on Ko-fi. I believe it's ko-fi.com/LT Guitarist. Look at my stuff. Send me money. Buy me things. Say hello. They don't have a catchphrase.
His shed is rotting. Give him the tool. Give a man a shed for a day. Teach him to lacquer his shed. He can be in a shed for several years. Matt is at MattPT55. I'm sure we could do show notes for this. If we had show notes, you would link to your wife's stuff, which is at A Weaver Writes on Twitter. She writes romantic novels.
Indeed, she does. And she does other things as well. She is
really?
Most talented. Yes.
Oh, yeah, she makes costumes and stuff.
Yes.
But that's not really the point. The point is to follow me. I'm the best one. At Spanners Ready. The show doesn't have a Twitter yet, does it? I think it might still be at Indoors Remain. I don't know. I haven't sorted it out yet. But look.
Doomscrolling at Indoors Remain. Perfect.
On your podcatcher of choice, there's a link in the show notes. And your podcatcher of choice, there'll be a link to share with your friends. Doomscrolling. This will be the first episode, and it will definitely be deleted in due course, as will all the Remain Indoors episodes as well. But join us. We're going to share our lives. We're going to share our views. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. Until next time, work hard, be kind, and have fun. And stop doom scrolling. Was I sinister enough? Doom scrolling.
Oh yeah, I got that bass effect going.
Someone said to me, why don't you get closer to the mic? I do have a deep register. I just don't want to flex too much. No, I was hoping the bed would be
That was incredibly well timed.
It's like I was talking about my voice and then the music went, we hate you, Spinners. I've been designed specifically to humiliate you by Liam.
I was timing it. I was like, okay,
that's what
8
happened.
bars. He's going to get confident at 8 bars so we can peak there. And then if he's going to get too cocky and then...
Right, we're out. Bye.